Hello and good morning everyone. So this video will be about my lesson development assignment based on the dramatic technique which is podcast. So the task that is developed for this lesson is specifically for a listening class with the complementary skill writing. This lesson is developed and intended to use specifically for 24 students in which their English level of proficiency is more probably already on the B1 level. And so the lesson will be used and intended for online learning setting, and it will be in a double period lesson, which is 2 hours, at least 2 hours or 1 hour. So the topic of this lesson will be based on the situation that's related to the theme people and culture, and the main topic for this lesson is e-business. So in this lessons, the students will learn more about e-business and later will be given a listening task based on a podcast recorded titled e-business. So this podcast is about how if e-business became a significant and necessary change for business owners during the pandemic. So by the end of this lesson, students should be able to first brainstorm ideas based on the question given by teacher, answer the MCQ questions on the worksheet given based on the listening task, and write an email containing the opinion about the topic given. So first is the pre-listening class. So the pre-listening stage is where the greetings and introduction to the topic takes place. So the duration allocated for this stage is only 5 minutes. So in this stage, the materials and tools used is only the Google Meet platform and also a YouTube video. So the teacher will first start off in greeting the students as they enter the Google Meet session. So once all of them are there, the teacher will proceed to play a YouTube video that is related to the topic of the lesson. So after showing the video, the teacher states the learning objective before proceeding with the lesson. So for your information, the YouTube video that will be played in the beginning of the lesson act as an introduction to the topic. So it is good to use authentic material like YouTube video or videos in general because as stated by Stroller 1993, videos are effective springboards for other content-based classroom activities because they provide um, proper background information and proper stimuli for subsequent reading, writing, speaking, and listening activities. In addition to that, according to Canning-Wilson, 2009, video provides visual stimuli that can help students generate prediction and also speculation, activating their background stimata. So moving on to the set induction session. So the first one in the set induction session is the pre-listening stage. So the duration for this task is 15 minutes, and it is a follow-up activity based on the video played during the pre-lesson stage. So teacher refers us students to question about the video and proceed to listen to the students' responses. So after making sure that students understand what they have watched, the student will introduce the topic and further activate students' schemata by asking question in relation to the topic on hand. So to generate students' knowledge about the topic, the student will ask students to imagine themselves owning or work in a e-business and proceed to present slides that contain a set of questions as a follow-up based on their imagination. Next is the follow-up question asked by teachers such as what the video is about helps in enhancing students' prior knowledge about the topic. So it is important to note that the open-guided discussion based on the question that asked can arouse students' expectation and interest of the language the text they are going to listen. So this is because Jones and Kimbrough 1987 suggests that introducing some preliminary discussions in which students can talk together about their expectation and thoughts about the things that relate to the topic of the text helps them in making prediction about what they are going to hear and ready their mind in what they are going to hear later on. In addition to that, according to Rowe and others, 2008, where students are able to relate to the learning, they are able to explore content and mentally engage in a rigorous, meaningful thoughts. So thus, questioning them about matters surrounding the topic helps them to find out what they know about the subject, and which indirectly will help them build the necessary schema through the discussion. So, after the short Q&A session and discussion, teacher will proceed to teach and further explain a bit more about e-commerce or e-business while showing slides containing a brief description of the topic to strengthen student knowledge about the topic. So next is the while listening stage activity. So the time allocated for this activity is 20 minutes. So here, the class will move on to the main listening activity for the main topic of the day. For this task, student needs to listen carefully for the details of the recording while answering the question in the worksheet given. So for this task, student needs to listen carefully of the details of the lesson while answering the questions in the worksheet given. So the listening comprehension is a short podcast how e-business became a significant and necessary change for business owners during the pandemic titled E-Business Means Business. So a test run for the audio will be done before the actual listening session begins in order to avoid any technical problems. So the listening comprehension audio will be played twice for the students while answering the MCQ question in the in the Google Form worksheet given by the teacher. So discussion of the answer will be done with the students after the listening activity ends. So, as stated just now, the while listening activity for this lesson is answering a multiple choice question based on a listening comprehension. So the MCQ answering activity is suitable for keeping students focused throughout the podcast. So, and according to Wilson 2008, this activity is suitable for keeping the students focused throughout the podcast because students experience less distraction from listening for answering the multiple choice since they have less to do. So the answering the MCQ question based on the listening comprehension is an effective activity to keep lesson engaged throughout the audio as it is simple and easy for the students to follow through. This is because Kunyawati and Lestari back in 2020 found that using Google Form for listening tasks or listening tasks helps to teachers and students as teachers can apply that evaluate students' answers easily and is simple for students to use. And lastly, for the last stage in the set narration is the post-listening stage. So the duration for this task is 30 minutes. And for this task, it is a pair work where they will have to write an email containing their opinion on how important they think social media is to a business. So the email should be 2 paragraphs long and an email writing sheet will be provided for each pair. So the discussion will be done offline in their own respective social platform to discuss and write with each other. The teacher will randomly pick the pair to present their final work and share it with the class as soon as they are done with their writing session. So in this case, the processing activity is a write-on activity. This activity is aimed for writing skills. So one way to engage students in a deeper processing of a listening passage is to ask them to refashion the text, for example, transferring it to a different genre, which is set by Wilson back in 2011. So, for example, based on the topic or theme of the podcast, students can write completely different genres, such as a story or a report, or even a letter, which in this case, students will write an email containing their opinion about how important they think social media is to the business, to a business, especially the businesses that turn into an online business. So, allowing students to write their own opinion about certain issues is a good way to train the communication skills and refine their way of thinking because according to Dewey Nervi, writing skill equips us with communication and thinking skills in which also fosters people's ability to explain and refine one's ideas to others and to themselves, and allows students to train in communicating the message in a big clarity, which will also be useful in the long run, especially when they grow up in their future jobs. So, lastly, the final stage for the lesson is the post-lesson stage. So this is where the summarization and reflection of the lesson will be done by the teacher with students. So in this part of the lesson, student will give the students a will teacher will give student the feedback regarding the overall work in the post-learning activity as well as summarizing the lesson and activity that they did in class. So the task will the allocated time for this task is 5 minutes. So to end this presentation, in conclusion, it can be said that teaching listening by using podcasts is possible to increase student listening comprehension as podcasts provide students with authentic and contextual material, and it can improve students' knowledge as according to Earp back in 1998. Apart from that, it can be seen that in this lesson, the podcasting offers an ideal tool for creative expression of knowledge preferred by today's students, and it provides an exciting way for students and teachers to explore and discover listening content and or material. However, more advanced learners can be encouraged to listen to authentic podcasts because it is because this activity effectively bridges the gap between the formal English, which dominates most of the second language classroom, and the informal English used in most real-life communication events. That is all from me. Thank you.